In this video, we are going to discuss how the Excel solution of a balanced and unbalanced transportation problem is done. We have already discussed this balanced and unbalanced problem in the last two lectures. The description of these two lectures, I'll paste them in the description. So we have a problem of laptop shipping. We have three manufacturing sites: China, Poland, and Mexico, labeled as 1, 2, and 3. Three demand centers: New York, A, Dubai as B, and Cape Town as C. Now we want to find the minimum cost of shipping for shipping of laptops from these manufacturing sites to three demand centers. Now let's start this thing. So first thing is writing the objective function, because the objective function is 6x1a plus 8x1c 1b and text 10x1c and so on. So the key to doing such type of problem is to make the two tables which are similar in structure. The first table, as given in the yellow, it is the cost data, which is given in 3 rows and 3 columns. This is the given data to us, so we will make this table. And on the right hand side, if you can have a look at it, this table in blue. This also has 3 rows and 3 columns, and we will make it the another table, but its cells will be empty, and each cell will represent the unknown quantity. So we have x1a, so this one is x1a, it is showing x1a, this is showing x1b, x1c, and then x2a, and then so on, and then this last one is x3c. So we will make these two tables like this. And to the objective function, to write the formula for objective function, what we will do, because the two data, that is the unknown quantities, this x1a, these quantities will be found by the solver. And the cost data, because these two type of data, they are given in similar forms of array. So what we will do, we will use a formula called as sum product. And when we double click on sum product, it asks us what are the two arrays that we want to multiply. So this cost is the first array, and then you select this one, then press comma, and then select select this. Sorry, there is a glitch here. Just let me handle this one. And this is the second array. So we have now chosen the two arrays, and we just press enter. So the whole objective function is now coded in this objective function. So if I press double click it, you can see this is multiplying the two arrays, the data and the unknown quantities. It is multiplying the corresponding cells and then adding it also. That is, it is multiplying 6 from the yellow cell and then multiplying it in the x1a cell, then adding, then plus the 8 in the yellow cell, in the yellow table, and then to the x1b, and so on. So this is a very convenient and very efficient way of writing the objective function. Now, let's move on to writing the constraint. The first constraint, these first three constraints, these are the supply constraints. And this constraint, we will write the formula of the left hand sides of these constraints. So the left hand side, I just write once for you. It is basically, this is equal to the sum of x1a, x1b, and x1c, and we know that these three cells represents the x1a, x1b, and x1c. So we will write here equal to sum of x1a, 1b, and 1c, and then enter it. So we have now added these three entries in a row, and we will then copy it and paste it to the next two cells. Now we have put the formula of all the three constraints of 1, 2, 3. So these three constraints, which are demand constraint, sorry, supply constraints, now are present in this cell. But remember, this is the left hand side, left hand side of the supply constraints. The right hand side of these constraints will be written in this cell. So the right hand side of the first constraint is 500, and then 600, and then 400. So now we have completely written the demand supply constraint. Now look at the demand constraint. The demand constraint, the first constraint tells us that x1a plus x2a, this constraint, from 4, 5, and 6. So it says x1a plus x2a plus x3a. So we will now We will also write this constraint. We know this is x1a, x2a, and this is x3a. So we, in this cell, we are going to write the left hand side of the demand constraint, and this will be simply sum of the column entries. So now this is now the x1a plus x2a plus x3a. Now we will copy it and we will paste in the next two cells. Now we have put the formula of all the three demand constraints. And remember, these are the just left hand sides. The right hand sides have been mentioned on the cell, on these three cells, which is 300, 700 and 500, as you can see from here. Now we have written all the constraints. We have written the objective function. So let's go to the solver window. So on data, go to the solver window. So I'll just do it again. I'll just reset all. So the first thing is the objective function. The objective function is this cost. We will select this one, and what we want to do, we want to minimize it. And which cells should we vary? That we discussed that we want solver to find these unknown quantities. We will select all the 9 cells, and then it is asking about the constraint. Which constraints? So the we will add first the supply constraints. All these three constraints are the supply constraints. We will select these three cells on left hand side of these three, left hand side of the three constraints, and they are equal to the constraints, the values on the right hand side. These are the values of the right hand side. So we have added the supply constraint. Now let's add the demand constraint. The demand constraint is, we wrote it in these three cells. So, and this is equal to the right hand side quantities which we have mentioned on the cells above. These are 300, 700 and 500. So now we have added the supply values, sorry, demand values as well. So now this is complete. Now we will check this option to, this is a non-negativity option, and here we will choose the simplex LP and we will solve it. So if the constraints are formulated rightly and the objective function is done correctly, we end up with a feasible solution, and uh, solver has found a solution for us, and that is the 9400 is the shipping cost. But so in a problem where supply is equal to demand, we can do it like this. Now let's see another case. So this was the case for supply equal to demand. Now let's see what happened when supply is less than demand. So we also did discuss this thing. Now in the lecture, now if you can look at, have a look at it here, then we have a supply of 1500 quantities and a demand of 2000. So this is supply, this is demand. Supply is less than demand, and when supply is less than demand, supply is done with the supply constraint is equality. They are written with the equal sign, and the demand with the inequality sign. So I have using the same shade. Now we will have a look at it. If I just delete this constraint and do it again once for you. So we have this, we have the first, where we will do the supply constraint as with the equalities. So we will add the supply constraint. These three are the supply constraints, and these three must be equal to the right hand side of these three values. So we will do it with the equality sign. So we have added the supply constraints. Now the demand constraints, as you can see, they are done with the, they have to be done with the inequality sign. So we will add the demand constraint. So this is our demand constraints, these three values, and they must be less than or equal to the right hand side of these values. So we have added now the demand constraints and supply constraints. One of them will be with the equality, other one will be the inequality, and the non-negativity option and the simplex LP option, we will solve it. So we will have this result. Now if you can, if you have a look at the result, it is telling us that we will ship all the quantities. You see that all the quantities have been shipped, and they the left hand right hand side, they are exactly equal. But if you look at the demand for the New York has been fulfilled, Dubai has been fulfilled, but Cape Town has not been satisfied because we allowed it. So this is the situation when the supply is less than the demand. Now let's move to another thing where the supply it becomes greater than demand, as we discussed in our lecture. So when the supply is greater than the demand, that means that supply is written with less than equal to sign and demand is written with the equality signs. That is the constraints of supply and demand. Constraints are written in this manner. So again, this is same sheet. We go to the solver, and I am just deleting these two constraints, and and if I go back to the sheet just to show you that I have already changed the values here. So this is 56400, this is 1500. So the supply is 1500 and the demand is 1000. The supply is greater than demand. So I have already modified the right hand sides. So we go to the solver. Now we add the conditions. The first constraint is the supply, and this supply is I just this supply is less than equal to the demand, and this is the demand. Okay, so supply is less than demand. Now we are adding the sorry supply is supply is not supply is less than or equal to the right hand side of the quantities, because we are not forcing the solver to fully supply all the quantities available. And then we are going to add another constraint for the demand, and it is telling us that these are the demand constraint, and this should be exactly equal to the right hand side values. So the right hand side values are given here. Okay, now I solve it, and if I solve when I press the solve button, I get this results. Now you see that the demands are fully satisfied, but the supply quantities that were available, they have not been fully utilized. We were given 1500 quantities at the supply node, but we only shipped 1000 because our supply was in excess of demand. So let's say if by mistake we have also changed, we have also written the supply constraint with the equality. Then what does that mean? That means that we are telling solver to ship 1500 quantities to 1000 quantity demand, which doesn't make sense. So if we try to solve it, we will end up with an infeasible solution. Okay, so this is how this is done. So that's all for this balanced and unbalanced demand problems. Thank you.